As the Spurs go on to win 103-82, holding the Thunder to the lowest point total of the season, including the playoffs. Victor Wembanyama with 33, 8-5. How about Stephon Castle with 13-6? De'Aaron Fox with a double-double, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Not his greatest night, okay? Just 19 points, 4 rebounds, 7 dimes. Also had 4 turnovers in this one, and the bench did not get going like they did in Game 3. And with that, we welcome in CBS Sports NBA analyst Chris Walker and John Gonzalez. And y'all, Victor Wembanyama knew he needed to level up after a good but not great Game 3, and he sure did with a first-team All-NBA performance, 33, 8-5, and 3 blocks in just 31 minutes, mind you. How did he change his approach, John, to help his Spurs tie the series up at 2?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the approach, right? Because in Game 3, everybody was screaming for him to get in the paint. And it wasn't until late in the third quarter in that game that he got his first paint points. Tonight, came out super aggressive, got right into the paint right away. They were throwing him lobs. And that makes all the difference, right? Where, as you mentioned, he was super efficient tonight, 33 points in 31 minutes. And just when he remembers that he's 7'5" and can go and dunk on guys, that completely changes things. And then, he hits that three-pointer from half court at halftime at the buzzer. He can do that too. He can shoot from deep too, but it's better for him to incorporate the shooting when he's dominating in the paint as opposed to looking for that shot from deep first and then remembering not until late, oh yeah, I got to get down low. And it just opens up so much for them. And right from the beginning, the Spurs were all over Oklahoma City, and he really set the pace for them. And then for Oklahoma City, I mean, they couldn't get anything going tonight, right? I mean, the Spurs didn't even have that great a shooting night, but Oklahoma City was dreadful shooting the ball tonight, just 18% from deep. The starters were basically all no-shows. SGA just had sort of an average game. Chet Holmgren has been a non-factor this entire series. And then you also mentioned the bench. The bench in Game 3 was incredible for Oklahoma City, where they go for a franchise record 76 points. And tonight, a fraction of that, just 34. I mean, Alex Caruso didn't score. McCain, 1 for 10 from the floor. So, yeah, Wemby came out and absolutely put it on Oklahoma City, and they had no answer.
Listen, I'm just utterly shocked that the Thunder played so bad. I picked the Thunder to win this game because you had a chance. This team beat you 4 times during the regular season, so they believe they can beat you, right? And you have a chance to nail it shut. Obviously, it would have been very difficult to sweep them at home and beat them 3 times in a row. They were the second seed in the West for a reason. But to John's point, and, Avery talked about, Coach Johnson talked about this earlier, you get your 7'4" butt inside. And that's what he did. And credit to guards, and credit Mitch Johnson for running plays to get the guards going downhill, get them in ball screens, and then throw it up. And then there's no one on the planet that can stop them once those guys get into the paint and throw the ball up. So as much as Wemby was going inside, he wasn't making post moves. It was alley-oop dunks because the guards were getting penetration. And that's usually something that doesn't happen against a stingy OKC defense. So give the Spurs credit. They're back to against the wall. They go down 3-1. The series is a wrap. They took care of business. Still home court advantage for the Thunder. But at the end of the day, and you're right, John, SGA was a shell of himself. He was a step slow all game long. Give them credit. And that bench, and you hate to say things like this, but I don't know what Jalen Williams was on. None of those guys made shots. They made every one of those shots the last game, and just the basketball gods spoke. And they were like, okay, you guys had your fun, 76 points. Now I'm going to show you this is a game of averages, and they came back down to earth.
Absolutely, very well said. Now, speaking of SGA having an off game, we know how hard it is to stop the Thunder offense, but San Antonio did that and then some, holding them to the lowest point total of the season with 82 points. When you think about the adjustments that they made, Chris, how did the schemes that the Spurs threw at SGA throw the entire Thunder team off their game?
Well, two things. I think the injuries, and I hate to use this as a crutch, but I think the injuries affected them this game. When you start getting into, hey, you're getting ready, to get to the finals, you're not having key players becomes an issue because San Antonio has their back against the wall and they're ratcheting up their defense, and you're trying to beat them in 7 games. So these teams know each other very well. Having said that, SGA was a step slow tonight. He's probably tired, shouldering the load. He hasn't played great. He's been good, but not an MVP type series thus far, in my opinion. And I think they showed him bodies. They were very, very active. And here's the other thing, guys. The Thunder had been making 15 threes a game. 12 of those threes were wide open. They still had those wide open shots tonight. They just didn't make them. So I believe those guys were tired as well. So I think a bit of a T, again, Mitch Johnson, give them credit. They got it done offensively. They asserted themselves. But I think, and then John, you may disagree, I think the Thunder were tired tonight.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. There's a lot on their plate right now, right? Because, look, it's one thing to not have Jalen Williams, and for any other team, that would be an absolute crusher. But Oklahoma City is so deep that, they haven't had him all season long. He's missed 57 games with various injuries, mostly the hamstring. But they've been able to overcome that, right? They still ended up with the 1 seed. But no Jalen Williams and no A.J. Mitchell. Now, all of a sudden, that secondary scoring that A.J. Mitchell would provide in the absence of Jalen Williams, and also the ball handling to help SGA out, isn't there. So Jared McCain has been pressed into that duty, and he did really well in Game 3. He set a playoff career high for himself. Tonight, 1 for 10 from the floor, and then beyond that, they really didn't have much else offensively. I mean, they've gotten nothing from Lou Dort on the offensive end, very little from Kason Wallace. Alex Caruso came back to earth, and after that, you're in a lot of trouble, right? And then we should also credit the Spurs, because those big guards did a really good job defensively tonight. Those big guards and wings, Devin Vassell, Champagnie, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle for sure. They got after OKC defensively. And this is something that was really interesting, right? Tonight, Oklahoma City lost the turnover battle. That is very rare for them. They had 20 turnovers that led to 25 points for the Spurs. Normally, it's Oklahoma City that's turning you over and getting all those points off of turnovers. And tonight, the Spurs flipped the script on them. So, yeah, that's something for sure to monitor moving forward. Where are they going to get the help on shot creation and secondary scoring after SGA in Game 5 when it goes back to Oklahoma City?
Yeah, and I also thought the Spurs did a really good job of just doing one-on-one coverage, right, for the most part against SGA. It was like, okay, you're going to go one-on-one. If you beat us, fine. But we're not going to let these other guys get off as many open shots as we've seen in the previous games. So I think you got to give credit to Mitch Johnson for that, and just the way the guards were leveling up on my man SGA and making sure that if he went off, it was going to be him, not anybody else. So now the series is tied at 2, Chris. Where do you see Game 5 in OKC going when you think about who might have the edge? I know we're still not sure about Jalen Williams, right, if he's going to come back, A.J. Mitchell. But how do you see this series shifting as it goes back to OKC?
Listen, we've already seen the Spurs win a game in OKC. And as I said before, they played 5 times. The Spurs won 4. So they are very confident that they can win in the Pay Center. And so, but here's the thing, though. SGA, you're the 2-time MVP. Here's where you got to step up. Now, he can't do it by himself. He's not a LeBron-esque player to me. He's one of those guys. He's an assassin, gets to the foul line, but high energy. He exerts high energy. And if they play without fouling him, remember, Wemby's inside. So again, he can only get to the rim so many times. He's going to have to make those pull-up jump shots, fade away. He's a tough shot maker. Devin Vassell did a great job on it tonight. And at the end of the day, they got to really make it hard on him every single game. And those others, they can't win this series. Like the Spurs can't win this series unless Wemby has an historic series. But the Thunder can't win this series unless the others contribute, particularly with the injuries. No matter how good, as I said, he's not LeBron-esque. I love SGA. He's not LeBron-esque. He can't put him on their shoulders and beat this team. Other teams, yes, but this team, no. The others have to step up.
Yeah, I think if you're the Spurs, you're feeling pretty good about your performance tonight, right? Because Wemby did what he needed to do. He got to sit out most of the fourth quarter, and they won everywhere, right? They won the turnover battle. They won the rebounds. They won the points in the paint. They won the fast break points. They shot the ball better, although just marginally because Oklahoma City was so bad at shooting the ball. Their secondary players were better. They were just better everywhere tonight. Now, that said, it's going back to Oklahoma City, which they have the best home court advantage by record in the entire NBA. The question for them, obviously, again, is that injury issue, right? Jalen Williams, he's only started and finished 2 playoff games this entire postseason. Didn't matter against the Suns, didn't matter against the Lakers, might end up mattering against the Spurs, and then not having A.J. Mitchell on top of that, that's kind of a problem. So, SGA obviously has to be better. Chet Holmgren, do you want to play in the series? The series has started. You missed the first 4 games. Are you going to come for the last 3? And then that bench has to be the bench closer to what they're not going to be the bench fully from Game 3, but they got to be a lot closer to Game 3 than they were to Game 4 because, again, McCain, he's a good shooter and shoot. Well, he shot a lot tonight and he couldn't